My name is Michael Terry, and we're here with another podcast. It is April 6th, and it is a rainy and cloudy day. All right. We have our new special guest, Dr. Young.
Dr. Young. So official. I like this. All right.
And then we have Justin McMahon in the middle.
Yep.
All right. So, Mr. Young, tell us about yourself.
First-year teacher here at Ocean. Spent a long time in education. Taught 9 years at RBR. Before coming here, I was the associate women's basketball coach at Monmouth University for 4 years. Did a lot of the recruiting of the players currently on roster. Set the team schedule. Kind of was like the co-defensive coordinator, so had a lot of responsibilities, but things sometimes go south in the college game, and I got lucky enough that knowing some people here, I got myself a job at Ocean, and I get to be around you fine young gentlemen every day.
That's true. So, at Monmouth, I didn't even know they had defensive coordinators in high school. I thought that was an NFL thing.
No, I mean, it's when you it really depends on the team and the situation. So the way that we did it at Monmouth is you have a head coach and you have 3 assistant coaches. So what ended up happening is me and one of the other assistants, we took over the defense. So mainly what I would do is I would look at the other team's roster, what they did well, and I would kind of scout them out to talk about like matchups, kind of what your coach does here at Ocean Township. Yeah. And then from there, I would go with the other coordinator and we would formulate our strategy on how to defend certain actions. And then once game day comes, I was in charge of all matchups. So as the game was going on, I would match everybody up before the game with the head coach. And then as the game went on, anytime there was a substitution, I was in charge of switching the matchups, letting the kids know what we were doing, which is pretty fun. So, yeah, even though you don't have official titles of offensive, defensive coordinator, per se, like you do in college football or the NFL, you still have guys or girls that are focused on either the offensive and defensive side of the ball, and I did the defense.
Where'd you play when you were in college?
I played at a small NAIA school called Green Mountain College in Vermont. I'm a local kid. I went to RBC, graduated in 94, part of 3 B North winning championship teams. And then if anybody wants to do this, you could always ask Mr. Chalesky what happened when Ocean Township played Red Bank Catholic during my senior year. They lost by 30.
So you said you taught at RBR. Was that better or worse than Ocean?
Actually, I like Ocean a lot better. The common theme is Dr. Stefankowitz was the superintendent at RBR before he came here. So a lot of the things that was implemented at RBR was implemented here. I do think the school is more diverse. I do think the academics are better. My wife's going to kill me. I also think the teachers are overall better here that at RBR. So with the leadership and the academics, I think that we have a better situation here than at RBR.
So, getting into your other job, tell us a little about SportsGrid.
So SportsGrid is a company that does, I would almost call it like gambling analysis. So we have a 24-hour YouTube channel, we have a website. We also have Sirius Channel 159. And so basically what I do is I am a basketball analyst, probably their lead basketball analyst. So I spend a lot of time breaking down games and then trying to give, we call it the winning edge, giving our audience any kind of edge that we think we can give them in regards to gambling, whether it's point spreads, props, futures markets, so on and so forth. So it's a pretty good gig that I've stumbled onto. It was something that, honestly, after Monmouth, I didn't know what was going on, so I kind of got a tryout, and I was doing it a little bit, but now, I'm basically on the network 7 days a week. Besides the full-time staff that's on there, I'm probably the contributor that's on the network the most day in and day out.
So you're pretty high up in the company?
I mean, I don't want to say I'm high up. I just think that I'm in demand. With basketball season, listen, when you talk about gambling, the NFL and college football is what's the most gambled sport in the United States.
Yeah.
After that, it's basketball. So when you get into, early November when the NBA is kicked off and you have college, all the way through the Final Four, which ended obviously Monday night, and now that we're ending the regular season in the NBA this weekend, I'll be busy probably up until, the middle, ending of June when the finals end. And then what I'll probably end up doing again like last year is I will do the NBA draft. I did it with two of my good buddies, Kevin Walsh and Ben Stevens. And then what we did is we did it from a gambling perspective, because even now you could gamble on who's going to be the top pick, who's going to be in the top 10, who fit, how does that change the team's win total. So then what I did last year, and I'll do this year, is I'll actually watch film and I'll break down about 80 to 100 prospects. I'll have my own draft board similar to they have in the NFL or the NBA draft. I'll have my own draft board, and then I'll kind of look at it and try to help people who want to gamble on it where they can find money in regards to where a guy should fall in the draft.
So you think Chet's going to be a bust as well?
I actually don't think Chet's going to be a bust. I think it's honestly, Justin, it's going to be predicated on where he goes in regards to if Chet Holmgren is going to be a center, he's going to be like the modern day Sean Bradley. The dude's going to be put on the poster every night. But if you put him with a big, and I've said this on the network, a big center, a Jared Allen, an Andre Drummond, a DeAndre Ayton, any kind of big center, a Mo Bamba, Mitchell Robinson, you put him with a big center, and he's kind of that stretch four, kind of like almost like a Porzingis.
But he can move. He can
move. He can handle the ball. He can shoot the ball. He can take it off the bounce. The problem is he's going to get bullied defensively. So if you're going to put him on a block and say, all right, you got to stop a 5 in a blow block. You got to stop DeAndre Ayton 1-on-1. You got to stop, Brook Lopez or Vucevic in the block. He's not going to be able to do it. But if you say you got to guard a stretch 4, then he's going to have a chance, and he'll be a decent pro.
I disagree. Maybe if you give him LeBron, he'd be a decent pro, but
Well, LeBron is at right now. He got the peace sign because he ain't in the playoffs. So we'll talk about that too if you want to.
Yeah, we can.
That bet is gone.
About how LeBron elevates his team.
Yeah.
And if he doesn't score 50, they can't win.
Russell Westbrook had a lot to do with that, but that's a topic for another day.
All right, I got the question. MJ or LeBron?
MJ.
Why?
Because he's a dinosaur. Obviously, he's going to pick MJ.
Let me explain something to you people. Let me move my coffee to the side here. These young kids, they don't get it. They don't know what the GOAT is. They don't know what Jordan has done to elevate his team. They don't know that Jordan has 6 championships in 6 attempts.
Carried.
They don't know that he didn't ring chase when he couldn't get the job done in Cleveland. He didn't run to the Miami Heat and try and do that. Then when he figured that the Cavs got Kyrie, I'm going to go run back to Cleveland. And then when he figured that it was not going to work in Cleveland, no. I'm going to go to Lakers, and I'm going to go get Anthony Davis. What did Jordan do? Jordan stuck there, and he got the guys, and he won. By the way, LeBron James this year, last 30 seconds, I think he's like 1 for 12, 0 for 9 from deep in game-clinching shots inside 30 seconds. So LeBron, you've had a great career. I wouldn't even say you're one of the top 3 Lakers of all time.
Wow.
I'd take Magic.
Dinosaur.
I'd take Kareem. And I'd take Kobe.
Oh, God.
I don't know.
That's wrong for many reasons.
So you think LeBron's the greatest player of all time?
I think LeBron is the greatest player of all time.
I can agree with that, too.
Can we have we have him referred, please? Because I really think he needs to have his head checked here.
Jordan might be more accomplished. Like, he might have won
He might have
more.
more rings.
But LeBron was just better. He's the best. He's the most skilled, most versatile, the greatest.
He's a 6'8", 260-pound linebacker driving the ball to the paint. But listen, I'm not. You know what? Maybe I'm wrong. I shouldn't say 3 Lakers are ahead of him. I would just say probably 1. Probably Kobe.
Kobe, yeah.
Now, LeBron's still on the Mount Rushmore of the NBA, one of the greatest players of all time. What he's done in his 19th year, almost leading the league in scoring, is phenomenal. So you got to give him credit for that. But I also want to say this. The NBA is different today than it was in the 80s, late 80s, early 90s, when you drove down the lane and you got clotheslined and you went to the foul line and got 2 shots. Now you breathe on a guy too long, it's a flagrant 1 or a flagrant 2 and they get thrown out. So I would dare to say it would be a different game for LeBron driving down the lane than I would say Jordan. Let LeBron drive the lane with John Sally, Dennis Rodman of the Pistons, and Bill Laimbeer, and let him try to crank it on someone, and you'll see what will happen to him.
They were 6'9" mailmen back then.
I agree with that too. The competition is way different now.
There was no Giannis. There was no Durant. There was no Paul George. There was no athletes like that.
Embiid. There was no.
Bro, wait. What? All right, so you would take Joel Embiid over Shaq.
No.
You would take
That's
Joel
not-
Embiid
I didn't
over
say
Hakeem
Shaq.
Olajuwon. You would take Joel Embiid over a healthy David Robinson. You would take Joel Embiid. I wouldn't take Joel Embiid over a healthy Patrick Ewing.
I would. Dude, Joel Embiid, he's over 7 foot, and he could score from all 3 levels.
All right. And you think that makes, and he's done what? His teams have done what? Did you watch him?
Who's he had?
This guy and his
Ben
team.
Simmons?
This guy and his team.
Ben Simmons?
Let me shut these
Dinosaur.
Two. Let me educate these 2 young bucks for a second. Ladies and gentlemen, did you watch Game 7 of the Eastern Conference semifinals? Forget the Ben Simmons not shooting layup. Did you see Joel Embiid? I lost the ball. I lost the ball. Joel Embiid got shut down by Clint Capella and John Collins in Game 7 of the Eastern Conference semifinals. Now, we could also talk about Doc Rivers, and he's caliente basura as a coach, and he just can't get the job done, and he blows leads left and right. But let's be real here. Joel Embiid over David Robinson? Joel Embiid over Tim Duncan? Joel Embiid over Hakeem Olajuwon? Joel Embiid
Duncan,
over
that's-
Patrick
that's a
Ewing?
little-
I mean, come
He's a
on.
dog.
Where do you get these kids from? Polano, you teach these kids anything?
Doesn't make any sense. This guy was watching basketball in black and white. I'm like, come on now.
Hey, I'm sorry. I did watch basketball before the YouTube era, and yes, when I started watching basketball, when we had cable, there was actually a cable that went from the remote control all the way to the back. So yes, I am a little old. My hair is gone. I get it. I gotta shave it every other day so I can look fresh. And you know, Miss Young always be looking fresh. But these 2 have no idea what they're talking about here. Where do we? Can we get some real competition here? Does anybody else want to step in and talk to me?
Wait, you shave your head?
Absolutely. Every other day.
Really?
Yeah. Oh,
But
yeah.
you're bald.
Bro, if
still
I go
growing-
more than 2 days, then it starts to get a little funny. So like today, it's a little prickly, a little prickly.
Wait, well,
and then tomorrow morning, I'll put a little Gillette, a little shaving cream, and I'll use a razor, and I'll
Damn.
bick this bad boy. Yeah.
will like grow whiskers?
I mean, I don't know if I get that long, but these guys coming up my neck. Are you serious? Jeez, come on now. Come on, ask me more stuff. Come on, SportsGrid, anything you guys want. What do you guys want to know?
I just didn't know that bald people could grow hair. So after the NBA draft, you just take a break until November?
Do you do
Yeah.
any football or no?
Baseball?
I mean,
No
I
baseball?
dabble a little bit in baseball. The good thing about SportsGrid is we have a ton of guys on the network. I'm lucky that I work with a guy named Scott Farrell, who's a legend. He's been in this business for over 30 years. I'll go on his show every day. So I have a spot with him that's sponsored by BetMGM, which is one of the biggest gambling companies in the country.
It's garbage.
They're very good. I have to be careful what I say. But I got this with BetMGM, so a great company. And then what I do is I'll be with Pharrell every day. But once the end of the NBA season comes, I'll probably be chilling out at the beach club and, hanging out by the pool.
Chill out, shave your head, and go to the ocean.
Yeah, I'm a little scared of the ocean. They got sharks in there.
No.
No, you definitely don't.
They got sharks in there.
What beach club you go to?
Do I have to answer that question?
Yeah.
I go to Promenade Beach Club.
Hey.
I've never even heard of it.
You never heard of Promenade?
He ain't about that life, bro. He just not about that life.
It's for rich people.
Oh, no. That's Seabright.
No,
It's for that dough.
That's Promenade.
It's for people that got to get that dough.
Yeah, it's always about getting that dough. Legally, of course.
Legally, of course. Any questions?
You got any questions? Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
You got any
want-
questions to ask us?
I want to know about like your experience. Where you guys going to school next year? What are you planning to major in? What's your career path? What's your plan here?
You want to go first? I'll go first.
You go first.
I'm going to South Carolina University. Go Cox.
Pause.
The home of the defending, women's national champions, and by Dawn Staley. Don't try to guard Aaliyah Boston in school. She trashed you.
I'd put it off the backboard for an outlet pass, but that's a different story.
Not happening.
Majoring in business with an emphasis in real estate.
Hey.
And moving along like that.
Damn, you all figured it out.
I like that.
Yeah.
All right, Mike, what about you? What are you doing? What's your plan?
I'm going to the University of Ole Miss. Go Rebs. I'm thinking of some type of business. Hopefully finance or marketing probably. I don't know. I'll figure that out. Yeah.
You know what? I got a good question for you guys. I've seen this happen a lot the last 10 to 15 years, is the number of kids from Jersey going south.
South, yeah.
And going south to South Carolina, Ole Miss, Georgia, University of Florida.
Yeah.
Big football schools, big fun universities, I would say. So what went into your decision to go to South Carolina and to Ole Miss?
Well, for me, it was between Penn State, because I love going up to Penn State. It's always fun. My brother goes there. Or South Carolina. And I took a trip up. It was March 27th, and it was snowing. So that's pretty much when I said, I don't want to be in the snow at the end of March. And I decided to go to South Carolina.
No, the weather gets a little crazy down by Penn State because you're kind of trapped in the mountains, and you can get dumped on pretty quickly out there.
Also went to the whiteout and had to wear 4 pairs of socks. It was freezing, and it still wasn't enough.
And you know what?
They still lost.
And South Carolina has, I mean, you're not going to have like winter, but there is seasonal change. It does get a little bit cool, so you will need a jacket sometimes. So, okay, cool. What about Ole Miss, Mike?
So I went, I think, 2 months ago, and I visited like 2 kids that I know from RBC, and they just loved it. And like I went literally on the perfect day. It was perfect weather. It was like 70s. It was that or Virginia Tech. So I was like, dude, I can't go to Virginia Tech. I was like, this is not even comparable. So I was like, yeah. The other day I actually accepted Ole Miss. So
very good. You know.
Also, the football team's good too. So
I mean,
I like football.
they're better than South Carolina. Let's be.
I mean, they play each
and
other.
Virginia Tech.
I mean, they'll play each other, and that's up
So
for
is there
debate.
going to be like a little bit of like, you know?
And Spencer Rattler dominates Ole Miss. Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Spencer Rattler transfer.
Trash.
Yeah.
Trash.
You don't got
Rattler.
Lincoln Riley to help him out anymore, so we'll see.
Yeah.
See how that goes.
Trash.
And they don't have the #1 women's basketball team in the country.
Yeah, but you got
Don't
Coach Yo.
care.
You got Coach
Don't
Yo.
care.
No, you got a good coach on there, Ole Miss. Coach Yo, I know a little bit. She's done a really good job at Ole Miss. She used to be the head coach at Jacksonville. It's taking over an Ole Miss team now. That's a borderline top 15 team in the country and seems to get a lot of transfers. So
Yeah.
Borderline.
you got something. Both of your men's teams are trash, but that's another story.
That's why I'm going there,
To do what?
He's
to
walking
improve
on.
the team.
He's walking on.
Walking into the stands?
Walking on to I don't know.
I could play D1. It was a choice not to.
Yeah.
Moving along.
Moving along.
So what else? Any other questions you guys have for me?
Yeah. Michael?
I got one. Who wins the NBA title this year?
Oof.
I don't even know.
I had a former answer, as you may know. I'll say it out loud. I'll take full responsibility for it. So over the last couple of weeks, I've been going around telling people,
Lock up.
Lakers, lock up Lakers. They're winning the title.
He's
It's
told
all
me
it's
that
all
3
part.
times.
It's all for the Netflix documentary. It's all storybook ending. They're gonna be the 10 to play in and win it all. It would have been the greatest story. Then they sent mercenaries out to injure LeBron, and now they're not in the playoffs. Moving right along.
They said mercenaries.
Well, I mean, yeah, no. Russell Westbrook. I'm sorry, Westbrook. One of the worst trades in the history of Los Angeles Lakers basketball. I will tell you, I think the NBA title is going to be between the Phoenix Suns and the Miami Heat, and CP3 finishes the job and wins his first NBA title.
I can't agree with that because CP3 is one of my least favorite players in the NBA.
Really?
Why?
Because he's a snake. Chris Paul.
From who?
First of all, I'm not going to say this because I know I'll get heat, but I'm not going to say who my favorite player is. Chris Paul.
Who's your favorite player?
It's James Harden.
You're weird. You're weird.
So Chris Paul, he was on the Thunder, right? Went to the Thunder. Got scraped in the. Well, actually, he was on the Rockets. Did nothing with the Rockets. Left after a year. Then he went to the Thunder. Got scraped by.
I thought he was on the Thunder, then Rockets.
No. Then he got scraped by Harden in the playoffs. Went to the Thunder. He's like, I'm not winning here. Got to go somewhere else. Now I'm on the Suns. There it is again. Chris Paul doesn't win. Now he's asking for big money, otherwise he's going to leave. Somehow he got it. And so I hope he loses.
And your favorite player is who?
The greatest left-handed player of all time, James Harden.
Greatest offensive left-handed player, probably.
Yeah, and defense.
Yeah.
You do know 2 years ago he was top 5 of the league in steals.
Because he gambles on every position.
He just goes like this.
Let's talk about James Harden. James Harden is a phenomenal talent. Great scorer. You know, they should have. First thing is, Sam Presti should have never broken up that team. Now, it all went south, obviously, when KD decides to leave and go to Golden State and started ring chasing. And I think that's going to hurt his legacy unless he wins multiple titles with the Nets. And I just don't see that happening because I don't think they play any defense. But then if you look at Harden, he goes to Houston, scores a ton, doesn't win. Doesn't matter who's with him. He had CP3 with him, right? He had Westbrook with him. He could not win. Decides to go get all plump and juicy because he wants to get traded to the Nets.
Juicy.
So he goes to the Nets, out of shape. Oh, my hamstring. Oh, my hamstring. Oh, my hamstring.
I'm not having that.
And then, of course, Game 7, he can't get it done with KD, but that's not just his fault. That's probably more Steve Nash's fault. Comes back this year, I want to get traded. I don't like how Kyrie's doing. I want to go to Philadelphia and play with JoJo. And now what is he doing with JoJo? He looks like caliente basura. That's hot trash if you don't know that. My Spanglish is terrible.
Spanglish.
So anyway, yes, phenomenal player, phenomenal talent offensively, but I don't know what's in his head. And I do think he's starting to be on the downsides of his career. The good thing about Chris Paul, and you're right, he had some bad years, or I would say subpar years for Chris Paul. What he did is he changed his diet about 3 years ago. And he started eating a lot healthier, taking care of his body, and it's helped him a lot along the way. Probably the same thing should happen with Harden. It'll be interesting to what happens in Philadelphia, folks, because I really think the Sixers have like this year and next year's a 2-year window. Joel Embiid's had a lot of injuries, a lot of knee problems. They have to win either this year or next year, or I think that he's going to be on the other side of his career. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with Harden.
How we feel about Zion?
That's a good question.
Zion's got to lose about 30 pounds.
Yeah.
He's got to get down to about 250.
Yeah.
He's about 280, 285 now. I think he's a phenomenal talent. When he's on the floor, he's outstanding.
Yeah.
I don't think he wants to stay in New Orleans. I think that's pretty apparent. Yeah. I honestly think, and maybe this is me with the bias, I think he wants to go to New York. He's very close to R.J. Barrett. They're best friends. He knows he can make a ton of money, and the Knicks are probably stupid enough to give up way too much for Zion. So I expect Zion to get traded. I expect Damian Lillard to get traded. I expect Donovan Mitchell to get traded. And I'm going to throw this out there. I said it on the network. I would not be surprised with what's going on in Los Angeles and the fact that that team's in really big trouble. I wouldn't be surprised if LeBron asked to be traded.
To where? Where can you see him?
He's gonna go back to Cleveland.
They don't want him in Cleveland.
They want him in Cleveland.
Nah, they don't want him in Cleveland. Maybe back to Miami. Maybe New York, maybe Chicago. A team that you think, or a team that has a young nucleus that they don't want to mess up. Maybe, you know what? Maybe the Cavs. But you also got to realize that wherever he wants to go, he wants that team to draft Bronny, to set up Bronny's rookie contract before he retires. So
Yeah,
it'll be interesting to see.
Do you
gonna be
think
like-
Bronny's going to go college for 2 years or 1 year? I mean, I don't think he's good enough to
Well, right
go
now
1
he's
year.
only top rated in the top
What is he,
45.
yeah.
Top player rated in his class is actually another famous player's son, DeJuan Wagner's son, DJ, out of Camden High School in
from
New
Camden,
Jersey.
Yeah.
Stud. So he should be the top pick in the 2024 draft. But I do think this is a little bit of a play of LeBron trying to get his kids' draft status moved up. Because obviously, folks, if you're a first-round draft pick, you get guaranteed money into a 3-year deal. So I do think there's a little bit of that going on as well.
It's going to be like tank for Bronny. Because you get Bronny, you get LeBron. And you get title.
Debatable.
So, Zion, we're going back to Zion. So I think when he comes back, he's going to be the best player in that draft class. At the end of his career, if he plays.
Yeah.
Because I think John Morant's great, but he's overrated a little bit. Because the Grizzlies are unstoppable when he doesn't play.
I saw this I saw this stat. There's this really cool Twitter handle called StatMuse that has this, and they said this funny stat. They said the Grizzlies are 20-2 without Ja Morant. The Chicago Bulls are 2-20 versus any of the top 8 teams in the NBA, which is a pretty funny fact. But back to Ja, my guy Kevin Walsh, we talked about it a couple of weeks ago. Ja Morant is a top 5 highlight in the NBA.
Yeah.
He's not a top 5 NBA player.
Yeah.
I don't even think he's a top 10 NBA player. For a team to lose their superstar and go 20-2 is not so much maybe a knock on Ja, but I think it's a really good to talk about the culture and the players like Des Bane, Dylan Brooks, Steven Adams, Jaren Jackson, Kyle Anderson.
How they mesh together.
Tyus Jones, right. How they mesh together. And Ja is a piece of that.
Yeah.
So the interesting thing that's going to happen is Ja's been out, and they've been playing really well. I know they had a tough loss in Utah last night in overtime. But they're the 2 seed in the West. If Ja comes back and they get thumped in the first round, and Ja tries to do too much and play well, do people start looking at him and saying, maybe he's the problem? And maybe do you need to move someone like John Morant? Because if you move John Morant, you're going to get an all-time,
like 4 firsts.
Yeah, for a first and young players and assets. And I still think the Grizzlies need a couple more pieces. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with Ja. But you can't look at me and tell me he's the best player. I would argue that, I would say probably you would say that Zion could be the best player in the draft. I'll tell you what, because of where he's playing, don't sleep on R.J. Barrett. He's had a pretty good year. The Knicks are a hot mess. They have to get rid of Julius Randle and give him the keys to the team. But you do have 3 top-level players, and there's other players in that draft that's actually pretty good as well.
Maybe they give up Randall and get Zion. Fat for a fat guy.
And they're going to have to throw some picks in there too, but we'll see. The funny thing is, and that's why I'm still on SportsGrid even during the off season. Not as much as like every day, but there's always something going on, whether it's a trade or any kind of rumors going around. So, we'll see. It'll be a busy off season, and we'll see what happens. But NBA draft will come up. Look for a guy like Jabari Smith to probably go first out of Auburn. Chet will be on there. Paulo Banchero had a really good NCAA tournament.
Should be the first overall pick. Actually, should be second.
I would argue, yes, I would think he's second. If I was a GM, I would probably go Jabari 1, Banchero 2. I would actually go Jordan Ivey 3.
That's what I think.
And then I would go Chet Holmgren.
I think
4.
Jaden Ivey's going to win
Where
Rookie of
do
the
you
Year.
think the UNC guy will go?
Baycott?
Yeah.
He's got to go back to school.
Yeah.
I think the way the NBA is, think about it, guys, like a back-to-the-basket center really doesn't translate well. I mean, think about the career of, like, Luka Garza had at Iowa. Dude went late in the second round, and he can't find his niche in the NBA because back-to-the-basket bigs, unless you're like a Joel Embiid, unless you're like a
all-around
generational talent that could score, like you talked about Embiid, from the three-point line in, and athletic enough to defend. This game is about space and pace. So a guy like Jabari Smith, a guy like Chet Holmgren, a guy like Banchero who can play inside out, they're going to be really good. And that's why I keep coming back to a guy like a Jordan Ivey. Like Jordan Ivey is going to be a dynamic player. I almost see him as like a light version of Ja.
Yeah.
With his athletic ability and ability to score and do stuff like that. I think Keegan Murray will be a really good pro. I think he's a chess piece. You can move him around. You can play him inside, outside. Matchup nightmare. Johnny Davis from Wisconsin, I'm a little not as big on because I don't think he's got the athletic ability. Yeah, he's a great college player. I think he struggles in the NBA. It's a little bit too much of a tweener.
I think Ivy's going to win Rookie of the Year.
He could.
He's most like, watching him in college, he like comes off the screens like he's in the NBA. He just looks like he's playing the NBA game.
And you got to think about this. There's two problems that he had at Purdue. One is Matt Painter. No offense. I just don't think he's that good of a coach. He seems to choke in a big spot. But when you have Zach Edey and Travion Williams down low, it takes away the lane for him to drive. In an NBA with a stretch five, a big that could step out and knock down shots, or you put them in the weak side low post on the short corner and give him the lane to drive, I think Jaden Ivey's going to be dynamic at the next level.
Do you see the 3 St. Peter's guys hit the transfer portal?
Not surprising. Listen, the transfer portal's changed the game of college basketball.
Yeah.
I was telling a couple of administrators earlier, there's more kids in the transfer portal than scholarships available now, because you got to remember not just the transfer portal and people transferring, but there's 2 major things that's going on in college basketball that's changed it. Number one is what's called the free transfer rule. Now you can transfer one time and not have to sit out. That's number one. Number 2, because of COVID, everybody got an extra year of eligibility.
Yeah.
So that's going to mess up the recruiting. Really, I would say that you guys being seniors, Mike, you went through it a little bit with lacrosse. It's going to affect the high school game as well.
Yeah.
Because what you're going to see is you're going to see teams hold scholarships for experienced players, knowing they don't have to sit.
Yeah.
So my suggestion is anybody watching this, if you're a high school athlete and you're getting Division I interest, you got to look to pull the trigger really early, because if you wait till late, let's say into your senior year, you may not have a spot ready for you. Try and pull the trigger early. If you find a school, pull it early, secure your spot, and go from there.
Yeah, like I feel like the juniors in high school now are really being affected because kind of like in that COVID situation, like those juniors like are kind of right in the middle of like the deadline and when you could like commit and like talk to those coaches. So I feel like the juniors are really in like a tough spot because I feel like they're having more seniors and more fifth years stay, and the seniors already locked in going there.
Right. So I think what you need to do is you have to really think about what you're doing in regard to picking a school, and not wait it out too long. It'll be interesting. The COVID, it's going to affect everybody that was, I think, a freshman last year. So we're only in year 2 of the cycle.
Yeah.
And you don't have to decide if you want to, the school doesn't have to decide if you have to take that extra year until you're done with eligibility. So if you're a freshman last year in college, you're a sophomore right now, you can play through your senior year, and then the school or another school can decide
if they want you,
want you to stay another year or you go somewhere else. So that means that this is really a 3 more year cycle where it's going to affect recruiting. So do your due diligence. If you like a school, like I said, you got to pull the trigger early, or that school is going to intentionally hold spots for graduates or for transfers because of the fact that they want to get it's a ready-made product, someone that they don't project, that's done it at the Division I level for a couple of years. So it'll definitely be interesting, the transfer portal, the next couple of years.
Where do you think Doug Eater's going to end up? Because I don't even think he's that good.
I think Doug Eater capitalized on a really good tournament. You got to remember, folks, Doug Eater wasn't even a starter on St. Peter's. Had a big game versus Monmouth in the MAC championship, and then had a nice run. Good player. Listen, I wouldn't be shocked if all 3 of them ended up with Shaheen Holloway at Seton Hall.
Yeah.
Reason being is they understand Seton Hall. They understand, Shaheen and his culture, and then maybe this is a way of getting guys to buy in. The other good thing about college that's different now is the NIL deal. Doug Eddard, who no one knew who he was a month ago, got a Buffalo Wild Wings. So you know what?
That's crazy.
If you do good work and you're an underdog, you can make a little bit of money too. So that's also changed the game a lot in regards to NIL money not just going to college athletes, but high school athletes can earn NIL money as well, depending on the state. Some states, if you earn NIL money, then you may not be eligible to play. So I think like New Jersey, if you make NIL money, there may be a way that you maybe can't play in high school, and maybe an NJSA, you have to maybe go to like a prep school or something like
That's
that.
weird.
It is weird.
I didn't know that.
I just had a question. I forgot it.
Basketball?
Yeah. Oh, the G League route. What do you think of the G League route?
I think they're going to make the G League to be like the minor leagues, like it is in baseball. I wouldn't be surprised if they change the draft rules. I've been talking about changing the draft rules and let teams draft high school kids right out of high school.
To the G League team?
I thought they did that.
G League. Not yet. You got to go with some kind of crazy route. You know,
like
go to
Team
like
Ignite.
LaMelo, go overseas, but usually you have to play 1 year. So we're going to see what happens. But I think they're going to start. Every team will have a G League team. I think they pretty much do now.
Yeah.
Besides the G League Ignite, which is
the prospects.
with the prospects. I do think teams are going to load up on draft picks. You've seen teams like the Knicks load up on second-round draft picks just to get more players and then just stash them in the G League.
Yeah.
That's going to kind of be the way of the future now.
It's not a bad idea.
It's not, because then they're
Because it's still competitive.
They're playing against like former college players.
Yeah.
You're playing at higher, and then it's not just that. It's the training. It's the fact that they don't have to go to school. It's just you're with them year round. A lot of times they share the same facility. For instance, the Knicks, they're the Westchester Knicks. They practice in the same facility.
Yeah.
You know, the Nets are the Long Island Nets. They practice in the same facility at the Barclays. So that means that they have access to all the training, strength and conditioning, all the amenities that you would have as a normal NBA team. So I do think that you're going to see a lot more players go that route.
What's the salary for like G League players?
It's not that much, but it's more than it's not as much as you would make overseas. Surprisingly, the G League Ignite guys.
G League Ignite got like 500,000.
Yeah, they get a good amount of money. But you're gonna wonder now with G League Ignite is, with the amount of money that you may be able to make in NIL money, do you go to the G League Ignite?
Yeah.
Or do you just stay and go to college, make NIL money? Remember, like in college basketball, folks, 4 of the top 5 NIL money winners, or the most NIL money, are actually women's basketball players. Paige Beckers out of UConn is the number 1. She has 2.3 million followers on social media. So basically what happens with NIL money is they look for kids that are followed a lot on social media, and then they give them money to plug their product. So I think Paige Beckers, makes well into the 7 figures already in NIL money. AZ Fudd, who plays at UConn as well, already has a deal with Steph Curry and Under Armour, which is crazy because she can't wear Under Armours at UConn because UConn is a Nike-sponsored school.
That is weird.
That sucks.
That stink. You would have gotten an NIL deal, Mike?
No.
Hood wouldn't have given you one?
Nah.
I wouldn't. You don't think so? You think you would have gotten an NIL deal back in the day?
No.
Back in the 60s?
Wow. 90s, but that's okay. Just flip the 6, flip it upside down, turn it into a 9.
Let's go. How do you get them? How do you get NIL deals?
You just got to have the
Reach
number
out
of people. No, you just got to have the social media, and they'll find you. I mean, that's a crazy thing.
Jared McCain just got a huge Crocs deal.
Yeah, so
That'd be sick.
It's good money, and it's there, folks. What's happening is that there's so much money coming in, and the NCAA is in trouble, and they have to find a way to compensate these athletes without making them, quote, professional. So this is the NIL deal is a way to kind of get around it. We'll see how long it lasts. But what's supposed to happen is schools are not supposed to set you up or help you get the NIL deal. But it's obviously happening.
Yeah.
You look at a school like Jackson State where Deion Sanders is the head coach. They get the number 2 or number 3 college football player in the country to flip from Florida State to Jackson State. Folks, that's
guy's an
major.
idiot.
That's
Did you
because
see,
it probably has NIL money coming in.
Did you see Elijah Perkins commit?
Yeah, to Austin, PA.
Austin P?
Austin P, yeah.
Are they a good school?
They're in they play like Murray State.
Yeah, I think they're in
that
the Missouri Valley
Oh,
Conference.
okay.
They're decent. They're a mid-major school, but like I said, between the NIL money, there's also something called the cost of attendance, where the school can give you money based off where the school is, and it's something that's formulated by the school, so that, like for instance, at Monmouth, our players, because they couldn't work, would get an additional paycheck. Probably wasn't much, maybe $2,000 a semester.
Yeah.
But it's extra money that you're not working. certain schools can get far bigger money. I think at one point Pittsburgh was giving almost $10,000 a year
Jeez.
to their athletes on top of their full scholarship, room, board, books, so on and so forth.
What do you think of that one, Mike?
That's dope.
Yeah.
That's sick.
In relation to that school? No?
Nah,
No.
never heard of them. Any questions?
You got any questions?
No, this was fun. Can I be a guest again?
Yeah.
Probably.
Probably.
Yeah.
Wow. Listen, who else has been your guest so far this year?
The teachers?
Yeah.
I didn't have anyone.
Here, look at that paper, Mike. Maffei's been one.
Ooh, I don't know if I can beat Maffei. Maffei's pretty big time.
DeMiro.
I can't
Oh,
talk about
Demiro, Miss Kazuba,
I can't beat her.
T-Ry.
It's Ryan.
That's it.
Anyone else?
Elijah.
Those are
Student.
kids, and then some students.
I mean, that's like the Mount Rushmore of like DeMiro, Maffei, Kazuba. I mean, T-Ry. I mean, CSC. But you know,
Whoa, don't hate on
that's
my
my
boy.
guy. Mount Rushmore. So I appreciate you guys having me on. You know, maybe we can do this again. Maybe we could
Heck
do
yeah.
another one in a couple of weeks. We could preview the NBA playoffs and NBA finals.
Maybe in a couple weeks.
Yeah. All right. Thank you guys for watching. Another week of the podcast. See you guys later.